everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Paige and today I'm going to tell you the books that I read in July. Yes, I'm way behind on all my videos, but I wanted to get you guys caught up. So I read 33 books in the month of July. I had 15 5-star reads, 14 4-star reads, and 4 3-star reads. So I had a pretty good reading month, so let's go ahead and begin. The first book I read is White Lilies by Samantha Christy. I rated this one 4 stars. This is about a girl who agrees to be a surrogate for this couple, and something happens. I don't want to say too much to give any kind of spoilers away, but she ends up having to raise this baby, or have this baby with the dad of the baby on her own or together, and there's a loss in this book, so beware of that. They are all dealing with grief, and it's a very emotional book, but a good one nonetheless. And then I read Love Me Whole by Nikki James, and I absolutely adored this book. It was a contender for being my favorite book of the month. So of course I rated it 5 stars. This is about a guy who has DID. So one of the heroes, this is an MM book, and one of the heroes of the story has DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. It used to be called like a multiple personality, but now it's referred to as DID. And the other hero of the story meets the other hero at college. He goes back, for a business class or something, and he meets him, and he realizes that, of course he likes him, and they team up to be partners on this class project. And he notices that, like, there's something different about this guy, and this guy lets him know, like, yeah, I have DID. And basically DID stems from trauma that happens early on in life, where the host, the body, creates personalities, like different personalities. And so I think there's 5 of them in this book, but he can be, himself, or just like the host, or he can be another person. There's like 5 of them in him. I'm trying to say this all correctly, so forgive me if I say anything about DID incorrectly. It's kind of hard to explain, but that is what the story is. And this guy, he not only is falling in love with, this other guy, but he's also having to he's also in this relationship with 4 other people besides the host. I can't remember the names of the characters, of course, but it's such an intriguing romance. It's so unique. I've never, well, yes, I have read one other one like it, but you don't see this very often, and I absolutely adored it. I adored their relationship. It was just phenomenal. Then I read Secrets and Lies by Nikki James. I rated this one 4 stars, and this one you have to go into blind, but it does have a taboo nature, taboo themes to it, so be aware of that. But I really cannot give anything about this book away. You just have to really go into it blind if you like taboo types of books. And then I read Anarchy Black by E.L. Rose. I rated this one 3 stars. This one somebody recommended to me. Compare it to Groupie by C.M. Stunage, which is one of my favorite books. It's a rock star reverse harem. This is also a rock star reverse harem, but there is just so much thrown into this one book. This should have been at least a trilogy because of how much was thrown into it. I feel like the author just kept throwing in stuff just for more drama, for more just things to be happening, and it's like, wait, now this doesn't feel realistic at all. I know you have to suspend your belief on certain things, but this one was just too much. This is about a girl who she, had her a relationship with these boys, and they broke her heart. They deserted her to become a band, and now she had a baby by them, and she didn't tell them, which is also another bad thing about this book. She decided not to tell them because she didn't want the child to be taken. Well, they come back into her life, find out, you know, that they have a baby with her, and they take her on the rest of their tour with them, her and the child. So it was okay. It was just okay. It was not anything close to groupie, which is the book I adore. So I felt like it tried to be it, but it just failed. And then I read Protecting Fiona by Susan Stoker. This is a romantic suspense where the heroine, you know, falls into some type of danger. I actually think this one, I think she's abducted and they have to rescue her, which is a reoccurring theme in Susan Stoker's books. They all start to blend together after a while. But I rated this one 4 stars. Then I read Mary and Caroline, which is a novella in that series by Susan Stoker. I rated it 3 stars because it was just okay. It was just one of the girls from the first book. It was their story of them being married. Nothing too spectacular. Then I read Ringmaster by Brianna Hale. This was amazing. Rated it 5 stars. It's about a girl who is being abused by her dad. This guy comes by, he, you know, rescues her, and he's actually the ringmaster of this traveling circus or show, you know, circus type show where they put on different acts and they tour all over the countryside, you know, going from town to town to town to set up their circus, and that is how they make their living. And he takes her with them, and she learns how to do, you know, these stunts on her horse, and this is their relationship. I think there's a bit of an age gap between them as well, and this is their relationship, and also her becoming, you know, like part of the family, because they're all kind of like a family of sorts. And life on the road, I really enjoyed seeing that. I really didn't think I was gonna like a circus type of atmosphere, but I really love this one. And then I read The Pool Boy by Nikki Sloane. I've read the first book in the series a while back. That was an age gap between the daughter or the girl and her ex-boyfriend's dad, kind of like Birthday Girl. Well, The Pool Boy is also an age gap, but the older person is actually the woman and the younger person is the hero. So he treats her pool, and they know each other because she is his mom's best friend. And she is in like music producing. She helps produce music. She helps find, you know, rising stars and all that. And she finds out that he can sing because she's at like the bar one night, you know, scoping out people who has talent, and he is there to sing. And it's just kind of like a little side gig he does for fun, and then she really helps him become successful in doing that. And this is their relationship. I didn't think that I was going to like a relationship between a younger guy and an older woman, but it was phenomenal. I loved it so much. Of course, there's a lot of, you know, stigma that they have to fight against, especially with, you know, his mom is her best friend. So it's like, how can you explain to your best friend, hey, I'm in a relationship with your son? I'm sure that's really awkward, but they you know, fight to be together, and it was just such a good book. Then I read The Architect by Nikki Sloane. This was not as good as the first 2 books in the series, but it was still a really great read. I rated it 4 stars. It's about a girl who ends up in, it's not even a relationship because he says he doesn't do relationships, but it's a dom sub type of, you know, situation that she ends up in with this guy. But he brings in another guy when he can't be there. So like it turns out to be something between all 3 of them. Mainly the 2 guys with her. There's not really a relationship between the 2 guys. But it is their story and it was good, but just not as great as the first 2. Then I read Knocked Up by Sharan Daire. This is the 2nd book in her series. This is a pen name. She's highly known as Jolie Sue Burkhardt, and this is a contemporary reverse harem series she's been writing. I rated it 4 stars. And then I read Outnumbered by Shay Savage. I rated this one 5 stars. This one also has to do with a person having DID, but the person actually doesn't know it. So in this case, the girl, the heroine of the story, has DID due to trauma. The guy who rescues her, because she's home, she doesn't have anywhere to live, she's running away from these guys who are trying to kill her, and it's this guy who like lives out in the middle of nowhere, like miles and miles and miles away from the nearest town. It's just he lives in the wilderness, and he rescues her, and she lives with him throughout like the winter. And he has, you know, he comes to know that, you know, wait, this girl, there's something, you know, different about this girl, where she has more than one like personality. So very, very good. And then I read Protecting Summer by Susan Stoker. I rated this one 4 stars. I read Black Lies by Alessandra Torre. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but I did rate it 5 stars. This book you've got to go in blind to. I really want to tell you some of the themes in it, but I can't. It's just best to go in blind. This girl and the hero and the heroine of the story have, you know, they meet at like this fundraiser type of charity event, some type of event like that, and they enter, you know, they start to date, they start, you know, to have a relationship, but then she realizes that there is way more to him than she realized, and it's them having to have a relationship around his situation. And then I read Protecting Cheyenne by Susan Stoker, and I rated it 3 stars. And then I read In the Absence of Light by Adrianne Wilder. I rated this one 5 stars because it was amazing. There's 2 heroes of the story, so it's an MM romance, and one of the heroes of the story moves to this small town because he's had this past business of transporting like stolen goods for people. Like people pay him to transport this stuff, and the FBI are on his trail. They can't, you know, he's kept all of his records super clean. They're trying to, you know, they're like keeping an eye on him because they're trying to figure out like what he does, and they're also trying to get like the bigger fish in the pond type of situation through him. But he knows that, you know, if he tells them, if he gives them names, then he's as good as dead. So he moves to this small town and buys this fixer-upper house to just try to lay low for a while. And there he meets the other hero of the story, who works as like the busboy, the dishwasher at the bar. And the hero has, he's autistic, and everybody, you know, they think he's less than, or that he's not as smart, but he's just as smart as everybody else. He just is autistic. And this is their relationship. I loved their story so much. I loved how you know, he realized that there's way more to this guy than what other people give him credit for, and that, you know, he can give it right back, as well as, you know, like, other people think that he's dumb, so he kind of acts dumb to, like, and then he shows you, like, yeah, then he kind of shows you up and makes you realize, like, oh wait, I was way offline, and he's just a person who has autism. So such a good story. Loved their romance so much. And then I had to read the novella that followed up the story, which is By the Light of Dawn. I rated this one 4 stars, and it was fantastic as well. It just, like, just a little extra bit of their relationship. It was just so good. Then I read Protecting Jessyka by Susan Stoker. I gave it 4 stars. And then I read Tryst 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas. I almost DNF'd this book, guys, but then I ended up rating it 5 stars. I am so over bully romances. I used to read them. I don't really care for them anymore because there is bullying in this book. And so one of the girls comes from, you know, the rich side of town, basically, and one comes from the lower side. She and her family are, you know, considered very poor and looked down upon. And she goes to the school, and the other girl bullies her, and I almost DNF'd it for that reason alone. And I went on to Goodreads and I saw other people's ratings. I remember seeing Jess from Peace Love Books. She rated it 5 stars. Several other people rated it very highly. So I'm like, I'm just going to stick with it. Maybe it'll get better. And it did. It did get better. A lot of the reasoning for the bullying was because the other girl didn't realize kind of like where she stood with her sexuality until she kind of like figured it out. And then they came to, you know, this is their relationship, and them coming together ended up being beautiful. But didn't really like the bullying aspect of this book, but it did end up being a really great book, and I'm glad I finished it. Then I read Protecting Melody by Susan Stoker. I rated this 4 stars. Then I read Sacrifice and Heir by Katee Robert. This is a vampire reverse harem series that she is writing. Cannot wait for the 3rd one to come out. I absolutely adored these 2 books, and I thought the 3rd one was out, but it doesn't come out. I don't know when it comes out, but I think it's this year, and so I cannot wait to read it when it comes out. And then I read The Protector by Elin Pierre. This is the first book in the Men of the North. I think that's the series. This is like a futuristic type of period of time where the earth has just kind of been destroyed in places. The men live in the north part of the world, and the women live in the I guess the south part of the world. And the men that chose to live in the Northern Territory are the ones that are not like abiding by their laws and are not adhering to what, you know, the rules and regulations that the women have bestowed upon the world. So they're just kind of like living on their own, and there's interaction with the two are not allowed until one of the women has to go on this, like, they have found this old library from like this time period, and they are trying to salvage anything they can from it. And she is one of the ones that they think it's a man, but the man is actually not able to go. There are men in the women's territory, but they adhere to the rules and laws and all that. And so she goes over the line to the men's Northern Territory, and they have to protect her, and by protecting her, she has to marry one of the guys. She doesn't know this. They just kind of like, okay, this is your protector, but she ends up marrying the guy that met up with her, who picked her up and is protecting her, because women are very rare in the north with the men. So having one up north where in the men's territory is very, very rare, and very, you know, everybody wants a woman. So they end up being married to each other. And it was just a really great book, because it is such, you know, like a dystopian type of future, and it was just so unique, and I really enjoyed it very much. And then I read Steph's Outcast by Ruby Dixon. This is her newest book she's written for the Ice Home series. That's the spin-off of the Ice Planet Barbarians. So Steph is a human that has been kidnapped from Earth, and now she's on this alien planet, and she was in school to be like a psychologist, or, you know, some type of psychology major. And so she's kind of like where she tries to help the human girls and the aliens. She has therapy with them, and she notices they learn of these outcasts, which is from the previous book. This is a man and his son. They have been outcast and avoided, and she is trying to be nice to them. She's constantly bringing them food and blankets and gifts and things. And this is her relationship with the alien, and then of course his son. And it was such a good story, in addition to the Ice Home. Then I read Come to Daddy by Brianna Hale. This is the first book in that duet, or that series, and it's about a girl who her parents have died, and she has found out that they owe a lot of money to this guy. This guy is threatening her. If she doesn't pay up, he, you know, is going to make her serve in like their strip club. She does not want to do this, and so the brother of the brother who's threatening her takes pity on her. He ends up becoming her sugar daddy through this website, so he can pay her money so she can pay his brother, but she doesn't know that they're brothers. And so this is their relationship, and it was very good. I really enjoyed it. Then I read Trusting Molly by Susan Stoker. I actually rated this one 5 stars. This is the third book, I think, in her newest series, which is actually one that I really enjoy. It's these guys who, they used to be in the military, but they still go on like assassin type jobs to take out the bad guys, but they own a towing company together. And in each book, of course, they have to rescue the girl, the heroine of the story, and this one was actually really good. Then I read Defending Morgan by Susan Stoker and rated it 4 stars. And then I read Lap of Luxury by Brianna Hale, which is the second book in that series. I rated it 4 stars because this follows the brother who was threatening the heroine in the first story. So you think, okay, he is not going to be redeemable by any means. But he ends up being with one of her friends, and from school he kind of kidnaps her and takes her hostage, and she's kind of likes the dark side of things, so it's kind of it's like she doesn't want to be there. She does try to escape, but she's not really putting up much fight either. It's kind of hard to explain, but this is their romance. I didn't quite love it quite as much as the first one, so I rated it 4 stars, but I did enjoy both of those books in that series. And then I read Seeing Blind by Poppy Dell. I rated it 5 stars. I've loved this book so much. I was searching for books, romance books, that has this type of situation in it. And the situation is that there is a condition. Of course I forget when I'm on video, but it's this condition where something, happens in your brain where you cannot recognize people's faces. You can remember what they're wearing. You can remember, like, oh, she's, you know, this person smells a sort of way, but you cannot remember anything about their face. The person can't even recognize their own face. It's called face blindness. Like, you can't, you see a person and everybody is a stranger to you, even your own family, because you just can't remember, you can't recognize faces. So this guy is on this like dating website, and he starts chatting with this other guy. This is an MM romance, and they strike up a friendship. And the one that has face blindness is he comes to this coffee shop every day to get his coffee. Well, unknowing to him, the guy he's been talking to is the guy who works at the coffee shop. The guy at the coffee shop knows that's, you know, okay, that's the guy that I've been talking to, but he hasn't let on, and he just doesn't understand, like, why doesn't he recognize me? Like, and this was their love story. It was very, you know, it was very clean. Like, it didn't have much spiciness to it at all, if you will. But it still worked. Like, it still was an incredible story between them, and how a relationship would work between two people that has that sort of condition. It was just really, really fascinating, and I enjoyed it a lot. And then I read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This was such a good book. I rated it 5 stars. This is about a girl who is out one night with her family. Her sister is engaged to this guy, and she and this guy have been like mortal enemies ever since they were in school. He just always picked on her and bugs her and plays pranks on her and just teases her, and they're just like always at war with each other. And everybody ends up leaving the bar, and then she goes to leave, and her car, something happens. I don't remember. She needs a ride, so she calls him because I guess she couldn't get a hold of her sister. Well, he comes to pick her up, and both of them end up being abducted by this guy, and they are kidnapped and put in this guy's basement. And there is rape and abuse in this. So it does have very dark, you know, trigger warnings in this book for rape and abuse. And they go through these horrible things while they're in this guy's basement. And they really create a bond between, you know, this guy and this girl until they escape. And they're rescued, and then they have to just live life, go on living life, but their whole lives have changed because of this situation. And it's them trying to figure out how to go on. You know, he's still engaged to her sister, but, you know, life just isn't the same for them anymore. And this is their story and how they overcome all that, and it's just so good. I really enjoyed it. And then I read the follow-up book to that story, which is Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This involves a guy had been kidnapped when he was a, you know, small boy, and nobody knew where he went. You know, they had searched for him all these years, but, you know, it's been like 20 years and nobody can, you know, he's just never been found until one day he escapes. And he's found, and he moves in with his stepbrother next door, and the girl who lives next door to them, they used to be best friends when they were little, and she remembers him, and then she befriends him again, and this is their story and how he, you know, slowly starts to remember her when they were little. And it's just him trying to, it was a different type of situation why he was abducted, and of course I can't get into all that, but of him like having to overcome that and figure out, you know, like learn how to live life, because he's been in this underground bunker for, you know, all these years, and he has to learn everything. And it's such a good book, along with the first book in the series, and I rated it 5 stars. And then I read Pennies by Pepper Winters and Dollars by Pepper Winters, and that's all the books that I read in July. This series is I think it's the Dollar series, if I'm not mistaken. It's about a girl who is kidnapped, and she is sold into like this sex slave, and she is horribly abused for 2 years, just horribly abused, until this guy, he rescues her, but he also like keeps her to himself too. So he's kind of her captor / rescuer, and this is their story. But there's like 5 books in the series, but I was able to read Pennies and Dollars, and those are the first 2 books in that series. And that is all the books that I read in July. Let me know if you've read any of these, what you think about them. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.